Hello and welcome to another Torah Tuesday. Today we're in Exodus chapter 3. We're jumping to the end of the chapter, verses 21 to 22, to consider a puzzling little episode in the story of Israel's exodus from Egypt. It says, "And I will make the Egyptians favorably disposed towards this people, so that when you leave you will not go empty-handed. Every woman is to ask her neighbor, and any woman living in her house, for articles of silver and gold, and for clothing which you will put on your sons and your daughters, and so you will plunder the Egyptians." I've often wondered why we're told this. I've wondered why would the Egyptians willingly give their wealth to the Hebrews as they're leaving. I have a few ideas. One thought is that the Egyptians have witnessed years of unpaid labor by the Hebrews, and they feel guilty. And this is one way that they can make reparations for the years of thankless service. Another possibility is that they have seen Yahweh's power so prominently displayed through the plagues. They recognize that Yahweh is the true God, and they want to be on the good side of this God. And the way to do that is to be on the good side of his people, who he's clearly protected throughout the plagues. So the plagues haven't happened yet here in chapter 3, but I'm anticipating where that's going. So when they ask their neighbors for wealth before they leave in chapter 11, verses 2 and 3, and in chapter 12, verses 35 and 36, that's where this actually happens. Their neighbors are really happy to give them gifts. We're told that the Egyptians are favorably disposed toward the people and that Moses is highly regarded by the people. And so even though Pharaoh doesn't have a high estimation of Moses and doesn't like the Hebrews, it's come to the place where everyone else really respects him and them. In chapter 12, verse 33, the Egyptians urge the Israelites to leave, and they say, "For otherwise we will all die." They have seen plague after plague afflict them, and the firstborn have just died after the Passover. And so now they're worried that if they don't let the Israelites go, even worse things will happen. And so they urge them to leave, and they send them away with gifts, hoping for a good, positive relationship with the Israelites. But I think there's one other thing I've been chewing on that might explain why we're told this story. And that is, I've mentioned before that there are a number of parallels between the life of Moses and the life of the nation of Israel. So Moses is under threat from Pharaoh. The people are under threat from Pharaoh. Moses flees and is rescued through the reeds. He's placed in the reeds. The people flee through the sea of reeds. They both cross the wilderness. They both end up at Mount Sinai where they meet Yahweh. Yahweh commissions them both for his service. So over and over again, there are parallels between Moses' life and the life of the nation. Well, I think this may be another one of those parallels. Remember when Moses was a baby and the daughter of Pharaoh finds him, she employs Moses' own mother to nurse him for her. And so the wealth of Egypt from Pharaoh's own household is trickling into Moses' home. And so perhaps this is the equivalent to that with the whole nation. Now the wealth of Egypt is coming to them before they leave the country. It's God's provision for them. They will need these riches in order to construct the tabernacle. We're told in Exodus 35 that Moses calls for free will offerings from the people, and they bring gemstones and gold and silver and fine fabrics, and that's what's used to construct the tabernacle. So it comes into play at the end of the book. It also comes into play in an interesting way in Deuteronomy chapter 15. This is where God is regulating the practice of slavery for the ancient Israelites. He does not want ancient Israel to become like the Egyptians in the way they treat their employees or their servants. And so he tells them, he limits the amount of years that any one person can serve. And then he says in Deuteronomy 15:13, "When you release them, your servants, do not send them away empty-handed. Supply them liberally from your flock, your threshing floor, and your winepress. Give to them as the Lord your God has blessed you. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt, and the Lord your God redeemed you. That's why I'm giving this command to you." So God wants them to remember that he generously provided for them from the Egyptians on their way out of Egypt, so they should generously supply the people who work for them with blessings as they leave their home. So I think that's kind of cool. I hope you enjoyed that. Stay tuned for another Torah Tuesday next week, and in the meantime, have a great week.